Okay, where's 110? There's 110. I'm going to show you what the test looks like. I mean, not the actual test. I'm going to show you what my outline looks like so you can see when I pull up. This is what your assignments are going to look like. As soon as I can get there. Test. Okay. That's not it. Let me go to...
Did we bust the test?
Okay, what did I say about those? I don't need sound effects. Reminds me of my son. It gets on my nerves. Okay, there we go. Now I want everybody to look and take a picture. It says Unit 1 test. And then it says Unit 2 test. And then it says Unit 2, Chapter 5. That's not the right thing either. So I don't know why it doesn't have my test in there, but I have several tests. All right, I have a Unit 2 test for Chapter 3. I have a Unit 2 test for Chapter 4, and I have a Unit 2 test for Chapter 5. Does everybody understand that? Sure. Look at your outline. Everybody get your outline out right now. Okay. And look and see what I'm talking about. Here is Chapter 3. Chapter 3 covers nothing but completing the what? Square. And how to solve an equation. Then Chapter 4 covers 4.1 and 4.2. And then Chapter 5 covers 5.1 through 5.3. You will have 3 Unit 2 tests. Okay? Now, there'll be short tests. The Chapter 4 and Chapter 5 probably have 5 or 10 questions along with the bonus questions. So everybody should make good on those. Those are not going to be very hard tests. They're not going to be. In fact, most of 4.1 is graphing on your calculator. Okay? Long division, I only give you a couple of problems. Make sure you know how to do long division. Down here, rational function and graphs, calculator. More on rational function graphs, calculator. I do just a little bit here in 5.3. So you're talking about a lot of calculator work with Chapter 4 and Chapter 5. So when we have, and this is for the online class as well as this class, about this week sometime we're going to have a Unit 1 and Unit 2 test. But you don't have to worry about 4.1, 4.2, 5.1, 5.2. We will continue with those sections after we finish completing the square. Everybody with me? Okay. I just want everybody to see. So when I put the test up for Unit 1 and Unit 2, it's only going to say Unit 1, and it's going to say Unit 2, completing the square. Capiche? All right.
So we take all our tests outside of class?
They're online. You have a week to do them, yeah. You really asked that question? Wow. You got a week to do them? You think you'll come in here for a week and do them in class? No. Come on now. All right, so let's get to the question. Let me pull up my whiteboard. And let's go ahead and start the presentation. So Oconee and, oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't showing y'all that. Let me show y'all what I was talking about. I'm sorry. I try to start the presentation after for a reason.
We can see it. I can see it.
Okay, well, I was saying, okay, I told you to get your outline out, so everybody has that. Chapter 3 is going to be your first Unit 2 test, and then you'll have a couple, I like to call them quizzes. Basically, they're going to be quizzes, not tests. They're just going to have like 5 or 10 questions on them, plus the bonus questions on Unit 4, on the 4.1 and 4.2. That'll be called the Unit 2, Chapter 4. And then Unit 2, Chapter 5. I'm not going to call it a quiz, but it's going to be like a quiz. And then you're going to use your calculator on most of it. All right, so with that being said, let's go to the homework question. We only got one, so that means y'all know what y'all doing up to 3.3. So, this is number 33, and maybe it will tie in. Okay, this is about a number 5 or 6. You're going to factor out that 4. Now, I don't care what the directions say because we're going to do the whole thing. If you can do the whole thing with these problems, then you can do anything they ask for. Okay? Now, since I'll stop where the discriminant comes out, I'll highlight that and say, okay, this is a discriminant. But let's go ahead and get started. It's 4x squared minus 12x. So 4x squared minus 12x plus blank, negative 9 plus blank. Factor out a 4. I'm going to color that whatever my pencil is colored per day. And that means I'm going to multiply by this blank over here, whatever I factor out. So that'll be x squared minus 3x plus blank is equal to negative 9 plus 4 times blank. Now go ahead and complete the square. I'm going to let y'all complete the square. What?
We got a 0 on one side.
What?
We got a 0.
On the right side, I ended up getting
How'd you get a 0? 3 divided by 2 is 3 halves, 9. Well, you might get a 0. I don't know.
9 fourths and 4 kids.
So,
Yeah, that's fine.
so here we go. 3 divided by 2 squared is what? 9 fourths. So we're going to put a 9 fourths here and 9 fourths here. And yes, you do cancel out. All this goes out to what?
0.
So you just stare at it for 15 minutes, right? All that goes to 0. Now you can do it however you want to. If you do it legally, mathematically legally, it'll come out to be 0 no matter what you do. So I'm not going to go through all that. So 4 times x minus 3 halves quantity squared is equal to 0. Now, what is our vertex?
Negative 3 halves.
Positive 3 halves,
0.
0. That's our vertex. Of course, you can write it in f of x is equal to 4 times x minus 3 halves squared plus 0. But you don't need to add that, but that's the way they may ask you to write it. The discriminant is 0. What did I tell you the other day? If your discriminant is positive, how many intercepts do you have?
2.
Okay, or 2 solutions. If it's negative, you have what?
0.
No x-intercepts. And if it's 0, you have 1 x-intercept. That means that the parabola is sitting on the what? It's on the x-axis. All right, finish it out. You know it's sitting on the x-axis. So all you need to find now, and what's going to happen is you're going to see that your vertex is going to be your x-intercept. So go ahead and do that. Give you a few seconds to do that. What do you get? Well, you divide by 4. I'll do that for you. 0 divided by 4 is 0.
Yeah, x is equal to 3 halves.
So x is equal to 3 halves. So draw it or sketch it. So I'm going to highlight everything. So 3 halves, 1, 2, and you know your y-intercept is what? 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Gosh, why is it so skinny?
Because there's a 4.
Yeah, exactly. So take your handy dandy highlighter and highlight that 4, because that's why you have a very narrow parabola, because it's compressed along the x-axis and what? Stretched along the y-axis. So your domain is all real numbers. Your range is 0 to what? Infinity. Decreasing from negative infinity to 3 halves, and increasing from 3 halves to what? Infinity. Question, right, complaint.
Do we need to do line of symmetry?
Line of symmetry is 3 halves. It's always the x of your vertex. So the discriminant is 0, and that means no x-intercepts. So which one says no x-intercept, or 1 x-intercept? Which one says that? Delta.
Delta.
Okay, now, for non-real world academia answers, 1 rational solution. But if you're talking about real world, or if you're talking about something that's applicable, it means you have 1 x-intercept. And you feel good about yourself. Correct? Wait till we put these to word problems. Okay, that's a 4 or 5. Remember I told you we did a 6 the other day. So we're going to get back on track. And let's go ahead and start doing a 7 today. 7. Let's put a negative. Let's put a negative fraction in front this time. Yeah, so y'all quit before you even write it down. Negative 1/2 x squared plus 4x minus 10 is equal to 0. Stop. Let's make this a positive 10. There we go. I want it to have x-intercepts. I hope it has x-intercepts. So I've got to factor out a negative 1/2. So that means I've got to divide negative 1/2 by negative 1/2, and I've got to divide 4 by negative 1/2. So I'll factor out a negative 1/2. Let's do that in negative 1/2 is over there. Now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to divide 4 by 1/2. I'm going to do it in blue. 4 divided by 1/2. Well, what's 4 divided by 1/2? The same thing as 4 multiplied by what?
2 to the negative 2.
Be 2. Not going to be negative. Okay? So 4 times 2 is what? So when I divide 4 by negative 1/2, I get negative what?
8.
Now the reason I left that in blue is because you still got to what? What do we still got to do?
Complete the square.
We still got to complete the square. And that's where students really screw up. They screw up because they think they've completed the square. They haven't done that. All you did was factor out a 1/2. So what is 8? And we're going to do it in magenta. Because the blue, this right here, this is just factoring out common term of negative 1/2. That's all that is. Now we're going to do in magenta, we're going to complete the square. So over here, complete the square. So 8 divided by 2 is what? 4. 4 squared is what? So that 16 is going to go here.
It's going to be x minus 4 squared.
What?
It's going to be x minus 4 squared.
Yes. Because it's going to be shortcut number 2. You're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to act like you're never going to get the shortcut. That's what you're supposed to act like. All right. So negative 1/2 times x minus 4, quantity squared. And then what's negative 10? What's 1/2 of 16?
8.
8. So what's negative 10 plus a negative 8?
Negative 8.
So our vertex, we'll put it up here. Vertex is 4, 18. And of course that's our y-intercept. So now let's go over here and do negative 1/2 times x minus 4, quantity squared, is equal to negative 18. All right, go to it and find your x-intercepts. Now, over there on the left-hand side, make sure you highlight those 2 different colors because they're different from each other. When you have to factor out something, you have to factor out before you can complete the square. The blue is factoring out a negative 1/2, or 1/2, it doesn't matter because it's going to be negative anyway. The magenta is where you actually completed the square. You cannot complete the square until you factor out a common term. That's a common mistake. And students sometimes, when they factor out that negative 1/2, they forget about completing the square. And they just say, oh well. So I'm going to divide by negative what? When I divide by negative 1/2, that's the same thing as multiplying by what?
Multiply by 6.
So I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to put in red, multiply by negative 2. So x minus 4, quantity squared, is equal to, what's negative 18 times negative 2?
36.
Look at there, that's a perfect square.
Right, you can go back.
Well, it was. Yeah, it is. So take the square root. X minus 4 is equal to positive or negative 6. You might need to use a calculator for that. X is equal to positive or negative 6 plus 4. What's 6 plus 4? That's one x-intercept. What's negative 6 plus 4? All right, sketch it. Sketch it and do all the things you need to do. Okay, where are you stumped? Or you just need to let it sink in. Which one is it? Okay.
It makes sense.
Now we're getting toward the difficulty level of 10, so that means y'all should be getting better at what? Speed. You should be able to get, now if you're doing the homework, you should be getting better at speed. You should be able to do these in a couple of minutes. If it's taking 15 minutes to do one problem, then you're behind. Yeah, probably. All right, so my vertex is, can't see, my vertex is 4 and 18. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. My y-intercept is 10. That's 8. 10's about right there. Negative 2 is 1 x-intercept, and positive 10, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, is the other. Why is this so wide?
Because it's fraction.
The wideness comes from the 1/2. Why is it opening downward?
Because it's negative.
The negative tells you that it's opening downward, it's concave down. Do not look at the negative and the 1/2 as the same thing. They're not. Negative in science and math tells us what? Direction. Think about negative in real life. Negative is always in real life followed by, somebody English help me out, a direction word. What are those called?
Right.
Below, above, behind, in front of. What are those called?
A vector.
No. What word? Is it a preposition or is it a verb or an adjective? What is below, above,
It's an adverb.
behind?
That's an adverb.
Adverb. Okay, so think about it. What about your bank account? If you have a negative in your bank account, does that mean, what did y'all say it meant a while ago? Inverse? No. What does a negative mean? It means you broke ass. Negative means that you are below the balance of what? 0. Okay, let's talk about football. What does negative 15 yards mean? Behind the what? Line of scrimmage. Every time you see a positive and negative in real life application, science, math, there is a adverb or whatever the word is. Huh?
Preposition.
I thought it was a preposition.
Me too, that's what I said. Adverb. Okay.
So I was right. So I am scholarly. Anyway, a preposition will follow that says what? Direction. That's what positives and negatives tell us. Okay? So what is your domain? If you miss your domain on this test, don't what? Don't tell anybody. All real numbers. Is our range negative infinity to, what is that, 16 or 18? 18. And increasing.
Negative infinity to
4. And decreasing,
4 to infinity.
and that's it. And line of symmetry goes to the vertex X, 4. Piece of cake.
And it has 2 X
Would that-
intercepts.
Would that be a maximum?
Yeah, anytime, yeah, maximum or minimum. Local max and local min is when you have both. Since this one only has one, it's a max. What you got in your pocket? What'd you say? All right, let's try nerding. This is number 9 or 10. And this is it. If you can do this problem without my help, then you're good to go. Why did that pop up?
You popped it up. That's why I was looking at that. I was like, I thought you was gonna try to get smart with me, like.
Can y'all see y'all can see the board, okay.
If they didn't.
No. Oh, Connie, how many screens do y'all have? Just one?
Oh, we just have one screen.
Well, that's, so you're supposed to have 2 so you can make that other screen bigger. Okay, I'll shut up. All right, here we go. Negative 1/3 x squared minus 2/3 x plus 1/5
I quit.
is equal to 0.
I'm done.
Yep. You're going to have to do a lot of whoa. A lot of whoa. What's that word? Work. Yeah. So what do you do?
Bernie's gonna take care of us.
When you have a lot of work, what do you do? Quit.
Oh.
What? What'd she say?
She said, oh, it's double hockey sticks now.
Well, listen, I said.
Everybody gets a what? Everybody gets a trophy.
Please drop me from this class.
Participation trophy.
Everybody gets a trophy. Everybody gets a raise. Even the guy that never does any work, yeah, he gets a raise too. Yep.
What does this mean?
Everybody in the class gets an A.
Oh my Jesus.
Yeah, I would quit.
Like, I'm looking like, oh.
Now you telling me you can't move that 1/5 over?
No, I know the steps.
Okay, move the 1/5
I know
over.
the steps, but gosh, don't do it. Why?
Like I said, if you can do this problem, you can do any one that I give you.
That's inspiring.
I can't do nothing
Yeah, starting off, I can.
because I know it.
You need to watch Willy Wonka.
You need to watch Willy
first one.
Wonka.
Because then you can get to see a German chick get traveled and
Okay. Now we gotta try to factor.
Sound effects.
Get you.
I'm gonna start bringing my polypole like I do with my son whenever he starts.
What is that? This is your energy bars.
I'm gonna live though.
Jack, you're
Said, beat us with your energy bars.
Well, I'm out right now, so.
So wait, would the same thing apply to this, like what we did last time?
Gotta factor out the negative 1/3 first.
That's what I'm trying to explain.
Did you just say ha 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 ha?
That's what I'm trying to explain. Okay, so you would. Okay, we do. We do 2/3 over -1, and that's the same as multiplying
Now you don't have to worry about the signs because you're gonna come out with a positive when you factor a negative by a negative. So just take 2/3 and divide by 1/3.
So 2/3 divided by 1/3.
Because you are factoring out.
We're factoring out.
So I'm gonna take 1/3, negative 1/3, and I'm gonna factor it out.
See, I know the steps. I just don't.
Oh, wait a minute, I gotta move everything first. Hold on.
Oh crap.
Negative 1/3 x squared minus 2/3 x plus blank is equal to negative 1/5 plus blank. Okay, that's my contribution. Y'all do the rest.
Okay.
Dang, I already got that part.
Yeah, that's the easy part. I'm over here like,
All right, negative 1/3. That's going to come out, so that means I've got to multiply by negative 1/3 there.
Okay, wait a minute, pause. Alright, no. So that means you gotta multiply.
Okay, what is negative 1/3 divided by negative 1/3? X squared.
Negative.
No, it's not. Negative divided by negative.
Oh, no.
Positive.
Okay, never
Okay,
mind.
now I'm going to come over here in blue, and I'm going to take 2/3, and I'm going to divide by magenta 1/3. Now, when you divide a fraction by a fraction, you multiply by the what?
Reciprocal.
So I'm going to multiply by 3/1. Oh my gosh, and you get 2. So all y'all were worried about, you end up getting what?
We got a number.
2x.
We get a whole number. Ooh. Now we gotta find the, okay, pause it. We got it from here. Let's get it.
Yeah, you got it because I took care of the fraction.
Yeah. We got it from here. Let's thank you for your contribution.
I ought to put one, change it back into a fraction, is what I ought to do. Yeah, this is a number 9, so.
No.
Yeah, this is a number 9.
Sound effects.
We'll do a number 10 next with a 5/7 in the middle.
Hey, calm down, son. This is light.
I've got to discourage y'all somehow. Okay, get your calculator out. What's half of 2? 1 squared.
It's 1. Okay, 1. Okay, now pause. Let us. I'm trying to think. Okay, shortcut. I feel like it's right.
You gotta get a common denominator on the right side.
15.
Good job.
You are it.
You're supposed to say, I don't know how to do that. Y'all remember the first day you started completing a square? I wonder how many of you knew how to do it. No, you didn't. Don't lie. Negative 1/3
Not this one.
times x minus, there you go, now you're being truthful,
I was really bad at it.
equals, and I'm going to change this into a 15 and change that into a 15. How many times will 5 go into 15?
3 times.
How many times will 3 go into 15?
5.
Would be Spanish part.
I got negative 8/15. So our vertex is 1, comma, 8/15, which is 8/16 is basically 1/2. And there's your y-intercept. So let's find our x-intercept. I'm gonna let y'all do that.
Wouldn't it be negative?
I know how to do
because
this.
that's
Give me another
plus
one, please.
All right, find your x-intercepts.
Hubert, wouldn't it be a negative 1
Where?
for the vertex?
Yeah, my bad.
You.
No. Negative 1 down here at the bottom. What's the opposite of negative 1? What's the opposite of negative 8/15? So it's both of
I
them
got
positive.
X plus ones, because that should be a +2,
Okay, and it's gonna be down.
because it
and
started off
wide.
negative, and then you.
I don't know where you're talking about plus
At the
2.
beginning, and when you divided negative 2/3.
Okay, that's my bad then. Hold on, let me
It's
look.
gonna be wide.
Okay, that would be a +2. Yeah, you're right. Okay, make a change. Thank you. That would be a plus, 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 and that would be a negative. Thank you.
Yay.
I made an error.
Correct.
When I factored out the negative 1/3, it made that negative 2/3, it made it positive 2, not negative 2. We do have x-intercepts because negative divided by negative is what? Positive. So We do have x-intercept. So when you divide by negative 1/3, you multiply by what? By negative 3 over what? And I'll make that a 5, so we get what? 24/5. Somebody help me out there.
Yes.
X minus 1 quantity squared is equal to 24/5. Square root.
Why did you just make that out of 5?
Wouldn't it just be 8 over 5?
Thank you. I knew
All
that
right.
didn't sound right.
I see that.
8 over 5. Okay, so that's going to be, we got to rationalize. X minus 1 is equal to positive or negative square root of 8 times the square root of 5 over 5. Square root of 8 is 2 times the square root of 2. So that's going to be X is equal to positive or negative 2 square root of 10 over 5 plus 5 over 5. And that's going to be X is equal to positive or negative 2 square root of 10 plus 5 over 5.
Thank you.
So,
I just used my calculator and divided 8.
hold on. I'm not finished. Square root, because I don't want to use the calculator because that makes me dependent. Square root of 10 is 3.1. So X is equal to positive or negative 2 times 3.1 plus 5 over 5. And what's 2 times 3.1? 6.2. Positive or negative 6.2 plus 5 over 5. And what's positive 6 plus 11 plus 5?
11.
And half of $11.20 is $5.60. So 5.6 is 1 x-intercept. You owe somebody $6.20. You give them $5. You still owe them what? You still owe them $1.20 and half. Oh, I'm sorry. I messed up.
Divide by 5.
I divided by 5, not 1. Hold on a second. Let me do it in my head again, because I divided by 2 instead of, okay. 6 plus 5, that's 11. 11 divided by 5 is 2. 2.10 or something like that.
It's like 2.2.
2.2, that's good enough. And then negative 6, that's negative 120. So your answer is going to be negative 120 would be what? 25 cent? Negative 25 cent or 2.5? Somebody check me. I don't know. Negative 2 something. So what's your 2x intercept? Somebody use your calculator and tell me what you get.
Negative 2.26 and 2.26. Oh, 0.26.
Okay. Now draw it.
I don't think that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's right.
Ah.
Thank you.
We don't copy.
Okay, so we've got a 1/5, which is 2/10. Right in there. And then we've got a vertex of -1 and 8/15, which is +1/2. +1/2 would be up here. And then we've got a x-intercept of -0.26. Okay, something's wrong. Should be -0.26. Should be this way, unless I drew something wrong. I think I should have switched signs. 2.26 should be down here. And then 0.26. Somebody check my signs. Should look like that.
I had noted it of 2.26.
Okay, -2.26. I've done something wrong there. So that's what it looks like. And then we've got all real numbers, -infinity to 8/15. And then increasing from -infinity to -1, and then decreasing from -1 to infinity with line of symmetry, x is equal to -1. Yes?
Why did you go from x plus 1 to x?
Okay, up at the top, when we divided by -1/3, that made that a +2. The +2 changed that to a +1, and you always use the opposite. Is that what you're talking about?
To the right.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I messed up. Because I still had -1 in my head for some reason. That's where I messed up. Thank you. That's where I messed up, guys, right here. Thank you. Let me mark it so you can mark it on your... For some reason, I still had -1 in my head. And that would have made that a negative. That's where the signs are. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I can tell by y'all's convulsions that my 10-minute class is over. I look and see.
We got 3.
Okay, not enough time to start. Now, I will do a number 10, which number 10, stick a 5/7 in there for the 2/3. Stick 2 prime numbers in there that 3 will not go into, and you've got a number 10. And work that for homework. Okay? You should be working on 3.1 through 3.4. I expect some questions from y'all for 3.1 through 3.4, or y'all have not done your homework.
Is the
I don't know why I only got 1 question so far. Tells me that y'all ain't doing your homework. And that day is probably coming. Meaning, what's today?
30th.
Yeah, I'd say Wednesday or Thursday. So you better get started on it. We can go and look at it. Where are y'all going? I haven't told y'all to go nowhere.